Okay, so on behalf of the organizers, Dima, Rami, and me, it's a great pleasure to welcome you to the Weizmann Institute on the occasion of the conference celebrating the 72nd birthday of our cherished teacher, Joseph Bernstein. That's his picture. Some people may wonder what is so special about the 72nd birthday. Is it because 72 is the average of twin primes? Or is it because 72 is the sum of 4 consecutive primes, as well as the sum of 6 consecutive primes? Or maybe it doesn't have to do anything with primes, it's simply the fact that 72 is the smallest integer whose fifth power is a sum of 5 positive fifth powers. So the answer is much more mundane. The idea was to have a 70th birthday conference, but there was a 2-year delay because of the incompetence of the organizers. Anyways, this conference is the focal point of a special semester on representation theory of local groups over reductive groups over local fields and application to automorphic forms, which takes place in May and June. And many people in the audience are attending this program. This program, in particular the conference, would not have come about without the support of many individuals and organizations. Let me take this opportunity to thank them. So first and foremost, we thank the speakers and all the visitors, especially the foreign visitors who came here from near and far. We are very grateful to the Faculty of Mathematics and Computer Science and our Dean, David Peleg, who made a tremendous effort to ensure the success of this program. They also made a generous contribution toward it via the Arthur and Rochelle Belfer Institute. The Weizmann Institute itself helped us through the Korafas Institute for Scientific Exchange. And other important sponsors are the Israeli Science Foundation and the European Research Council. So we are very grateful to all these foundations. Last but not least, I don't need to tell you that this kind of conference entails a massive administrative undertaking, and we want to take this opportunity to thank heartily our conference coordinator, Irit, who many of you have seen downstairs in the registration desk, as well as the staff of the math department, especially Alona, for the tremendous job. They were really handling many details and answered hundreds of emails and phone calls professionally and patiently, and they deserve every credit. Bernstein's fingerprints are virtually everywhere dense in mathematics. Some pinnacles immediately spring to mind. Let me mention a few of them. This is one of the first papers, or maybe one of the first major papers. The homomorphic continuation of a polynomial to the lambda, in lambda, or absolute value p to lambda, as a distribution. This led to the algebraic theory of D modules. I wrote here as a remark, I don't know if it's appropriate, but that unlike Kronecker, this Jugendtraum was fulfilled early on. Then there is the long body of work with the Israel and Sergei Gelfand on Lie algebras, Lie groups, and their representations, category O. The work with Zelevinsky on P-adic group representations, and later on with Delin and Kashdan as well. Work with Bellinson on the relation between D modules and representation theory, localization, the famous localization theorem, etc., leading to the solution of the Kashdan-Lucy conjecture and the more refined Janssen conjecture. Then there was a follow-up with Lance, which I will mention in a second. And then there is a famous work with Bellinson, Delin, and Gaber on preverse sheaves and the Riemann-Hilbert correspondence. Work with Lattice on super geometries and Lie super algebras. Work with Lantz on derived categories of equivalent sheaves. And work with Reznikov on analytic aspects of automorphic forms and subconvexity, and so on and so forth. These are just the 10 bestsellers, so to speak, but there are plenty more. And there are many concepts and tools which were introduced, and by now they are the bread and butter for generations of mathematicians, really. And yet there are many more, perhaps lesser known gems in diverse fields available in the public domain, and some of them still a way to be fully explored. However, it will do an injustice to Joseph to assess his mathematical legacy solely on the merit of his written output, as mind-blowing as it is. There are just too many more ideas which he selflessly shared with others or which simply never appeared in print. No. Wait, that was a different file. Okay, there was supposed to be another. I guess it's the wrong file, doesn't matter. So, Ronald Reagan said, and I slightly paraphrase, there's no limit to what one can achieve if one doesn't worry about who gets the credit. I can hardly think of anyone who epitomizes this sentiment better than Joseph. Indeed, his never-ending patience and generosity in terms of both ideas and time with students, postdocs, and colleagues is one of his hallmarks. And presumably many people in the audience can vouch for that. On a personal note, I wasn't a PhD student of Joseph, unlike my co-organizers and several of the speakers and other people in the audience. However, I took several classes with him in the mid-90s, not long after he moved to Israel. And I still remember how mesmerized I was watching him taking a complicated statement and explaining in his unique style how to reduce it to an orthogonal direct sum of simple, seemingly unrelated statements. It seemed casual in the classroom, but after you try to reconstruct this argument from scratch by myself unsuccessfully, I learned how to appreciate it much better. From the organizer's perspective, it's hardly surprising that it was an easy task to get positive response from speakers. We regret only that some of the speakers could not make it. It would be opposite to have many more speakers in this conference. Some of the potential speakers are here for the longer program, and they either have spoken in the past few weeks or will speak in the weeks ahead. But for these conferences, we opted to keep the schedule relatively light in order to leave more free time for mathematical interaction. Happy birthday, Joseph. The actual birthday was 2 months ago. Okay, so before I pass to the scientific program, please bear with me with a small announcement. So as you know, on Tuesday we go to Jerusalem, and after the morning talks and the lunch, we will have a trip to the Old City, and then followed up by dinner. So if you be so kind to, there are some sheets downstairs where you can indicate when you want to come back. If you want to attend the tour and or the dinner, please indicate so it will help us logistically. Do it even if we asked several weeks ago also when you registered, but please be so kind to do it again before lunchtime today. It will help us. Okay, so without further ado, I will invite Siddhartha Sahi to chair the first session, the morning session. Thank you.
So I'd just like to say one or two words. So when I was a graduate student, I think at Yale, and while I was working on my thesis, that's the time when Joseph Bernstein visited, and he talked about derivatives, and I found this really quite amazing, and this had a huge impact on things that I did. And recently, with Rami and Dima, we revisited some of those ideas, and I mean, as with everybody, Joseph Bernstein's work has had a huge impact on things that I've looked at. Okay, so without further ado, I would like to request Marie-France Vigneras to give her talk on. She will speak on representations modulo P of reductive p-adic groups and pro-P Iwahori Hecke algebra.
So it's a great honor for me to be here for the birthday of Bernstein, and always a pleasure to come to the Weizmann Institute and to meet all my to meet all my friends in Israel. So I am sorry, I did not expect such a modern room, and so I prepare a talk for a blackboard. So I don't know, I have to speak here, otherwise you don't hear me. It will be complicated to go there, to write at the same time. So I have to wait a little bit, so I will tell you a small story. When I started to work on mod L representation of reductive p-adic group, my first paper was refused with the comment that it was trivial and not interesting. But one person told me, you should go on. It is interesting. It was Joseph Bernstein. And thank you for this. I can speak now. You hear me? No? Yes. And then I had a very gifted student, Jean-François Dot, and during the whole summer he was working in mathematics, and we came back and said, oh, I put something very nice for K0, G. And then Joseph was visiting Paris, and Joseph told him, oh, but I know that. I knew that. And Jean-François was very sad because he found he had been working very well, he was a very young student. And I told him, well, write it down. And he did. So I knew that Bernstein knows everything of what I'm doing. So now I am going to speak on mod P representation, not mod L different from P, but mod P representation. In a very general context, I take P, a prime number, G, p-adic group, reductive p-adic group, G is reductive connected group over F, which is a finite extension of 2P or FP. So we have P, let us say F and G. And I take R, which is the field of characteristics. And the classification of irreducible, admissible, or representation G in terms of irreducible, admissible, supersingular, representation is known. So I will tell you the story. This was the famous theorem of Bernstein and Zelinsky for complex representations that was quoted before, and that maybe you learned this for the young people in May in the lectures. So for the complex number, so this famous Bernstein-Zelinsky. For G is equal to GL2F and R algebraically closed, this is the famous theorem of Bartan and Livni. But I cannot. Okay. Can you see if I write below that? No. Okay, so I have to go there. So, so now it is always R. Algebraically closed is always like that. I always suppose R is a phi of characteristic P. I will not repeat it. It will be only characteristic P. And then I add algebraically closed. Okay? For G is equal to GLNF, R algebraically closed. This is the term of Herzig. When G is split, R algebraically closed of AB. For all G, so R algebraically closed. So when I don't mention it, there is no restriction of G. It's not necessarily split. It is a theorem of AB, Héniard, Herzig, and me. And now, recently, you had no restriction. All P, F. You finish the thing with Héniard. So this is the history, how he started over R of characteristic P, he started with Bartan and Livni. After many years, now we have no restriction for all this. And the classification is extremely simple. And I think everybody can understand it. The proof is not so simple, but the classification, the result is very simple. How do you construct irreducible admissible representation? You do this in 3 steps. You start with a parabolic subgroup and with the Lévy decomposition. To fix things, we suppose we fix the minimal parabolic subgroups just to fix it. It's not necessary. With the Lévy decomposition, and you suppose that Z is containing M. You start with the parabolic subgroup. And the representation sigma, smooth R representation of M. Okay, you want to construct a representation starting from smaller groups. So the smaller groups are the Lévy subgroups. They are reductive, connected, and things like that. And then you try from this sigma to construct a representation of G. What is a stupid thing to do? I mean, something that is very natural, not stupid, but usually it shouldn't work. But when it is modulo P, it works. So you try to extend it as far as you can. Extension. So define P of sigma, contain P, a parabolic subgroup, such that sigma extends trivially on n. This means that sigma is lifted to, inflated to a representation of P trivially on n, and then you extend. So this extension is unique, and you write it like that.
Whenever it exists, it's unique?
Yes, because of the geometry of the group, because we impose this, and it should equal to sigma on M. And now we take in your bag the Steinberg famous representation that you know are irreducible by the theorem of Lie. So you look at a parabolic which is contained in P of sigma Q, and you have this Steinberg representation that you know. You start with the Steinberg representation. So you extend, and then you add Steinberg representation, which are defined as usual as induction from Q to G of the trivial representation over R divided by the sum for Q, not G, P sigma. So Lie proves this is always irreducible. So what you do, you tensor by these two representations. So this is a representation which is smooth and of P sigma that is trivial on the unipotent radical. Well, you have the representation, and then you induce it. So the third thing is to induce. So three things: extension, you add the Steinberg, and then you parabolic induction. And you get a representation, maybe I should write G, P, sigma, Q, which is by definition the induction of this representation. So to a triple P sigma Q defined like this, I associate a representation of G. And the theorem is that if sigma is irreducible, admissible, supersingular, then this representation is irreducible and admissible. And it is a classification. Every irreducible admissible is like that, which is very simple. Every irreducible every irreducible admissible R is isomorphic to some as above. And P sigma Q is unique, meaning I fix P contain B, so P and Q are unique, and sigma is unique modulo isomorphism. So this is the classification. So, comment, this says nothing about supersingular representation. So, another theorem, if you know in the complex world, but it's a supercuspidal representation. In fact, supersingular is the same thing as supercuspidal. So, think of this as supercuspidal. So, this doesn't say anything like the Bernstein-Zielinski result. They say nothing on supercuspidal representation. But he says that if you know the supercuspidal representation or supersingular, The word supersingular is a name introduced by Bartan and Livney for GL2F, and I will explain later what it is. So if you know the supersingular supercuspidol, then you know everything. And it's valid for every group, reductive group, no restriction of G. Such a theorem is not known in the classical case for complex representations. For complex representation, it is known how to classify irreducible admissible representation in terms of supercuspidal only for classical groups. And the classification is complicated. But here it is known for every G. And it is very simple. It is exactly the same for GLN or for GL2, like Bartan and Livney, or for any G. Another thing, in the complex case, another famous theorem of Bernstein that was not quoted before is that every irreducible is admissible. So Bernstein, so over C, Bernstein, irreducible implies admissible. This is an open question. Open question. For R of characteristic P. It is known, the answer is yes, only for GL2QP. Known, yes, known, only. And this is using the result of Bartan and Livney plus Breuil, and it has been done by Berger using phi gamma module. So the proof is not, we don't like the proof. You need a real proof. So what can I say also? For instance, for an example for SL2F. So in this classification, what do we have? We have the trivial representation. In this classification, which is here, the finite dimensional representation corresponds to the case where what? Where sigma should be finite dimensional. So this means that P is equal to B, and you have to be able to extend it. Otherwise, when you take the induced things, it doesn't work. And the Sternberg is infinite dimensional. So finite dimensional representation is P is equal to B, and G is equal to Q. So for the finite dimensional, for SL2F, there is only one, the trivial representation. So you have also the Sternberg representation, which is STBG. And you have the principal series, and where K is a character that is not trivial.
Or just standard representation.
What?
Just standard.
And the supercuspidal representation. Or supersingular, which is the same as supersingular. There is nothing else. But this, you can deduce it from Bartan and Livney. It's coincide. So, So another open question is supercuspidal or super singular. What are they? Nobody knows, except for GL2QP. Do they exist? Nobody knows, except for GLNF. So for GL2QP, using Barton and Livni, Bruich describes them, so they're known. And we have the modulo P Langlands correspondence is the right number. It corresponds to the irreducible representation of dimension 2 of the Galois group. So that's fine. But if you replace QP by any other field, there are too many supercuspidal representation by Breuil and Pascunas. So what are the good ones? You cannot keep everything if you think of the Langlands correspondence, but it's not yet understood. So for GLN, I think F and F over QP, RC says, I don't think it's written, says that using global methods, he can find the existence of supercuspidal representation. There. Global method. And for other group, we don't know. Well, yeah, I remember when I went, I didn't know anything about representation when I went to the Corvallis conference in 1977. And at this time, it was a question. For complex representation, can we find supercuspidal for every group? It was not known at this time. And now we are at the time, many years ago, where we don't know for mod P representation if there are supercuspidal in general. Okay. So this is one of the few field mathematics representation theory of periodic group where I think Joseph Bernstein didn't work supercuspidal. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. So and now I will tell you about the proof of this theorem. Only with words. The proof first, well, is interesting because we have a similar classification for reductive finite groups. The same result from reductive finite group. The construction of the representation is not the same, but we have the same result from reductive finite group. And this is used in the proof. The second part of the proof, so this is something well known, so there is nothing new to do. The second thing is that the crux, the most difficult part, is the Satake homomorphism. This is the proof. The hardest part of the proof of the theorem is the Satake homomorphism. That I will tell you what it is. Well, briefly. So maybe I stay here. Satake homomorphism. Proof. Similar classification. For
finite additive group. So known, this is Curtis Rischen. Carter. Lustig. Two, s'attaquer au homomorphisme. So usually, s'attaquer au homomorphism is an homomorphism from a spherical Hecke algebra, meaning the endomorphism of an induced representation, compactly induced, where K is the special paraoric subgroup. For GLN, it's GLN-OF. There is only one. So this is an algebra. But we want the s'attaquer homomorphism, and it goes to the same thing. So this is an algebra. But what?
Who is Z?
What is?
Z.
Oh, B is equal to ZU. It's the minimal parabolic. It can be the maximal torus if it is split. Okay? But we want the s'attaquer homomorphism not only for the trivial representation, but for every irreducible representation. So I will suppose proof for R algebraic groups. V irreducible of K and smooth. And then we go here to V, the co-invariant by N, by U inter K. You have some s'attaquer homomorphism like this, defined with a normalization. I mean, I will not give you definition, just you have to remember. So you start with an algebra here. The commutant algebra of this compactly induced representation to this. And what do you prove on this homomorphism? That is injective. You want to prove it's injective. You want to describe the image. Then the image is not normalized. Usually it is some polynomial algebra. When you have the Weil group that acts and you take invariant by the Weil group, but here you don't normalize, so you don't have action on the Weil group. So the image is the functions that are supported on the positive elements. Supported on the positive elements, that means the element in Z such that they normalize. The intersection. But you want a little more. You want the inverse image. You want to compute it, to compute explicitly this thing. So you do that, you do this, but it's not enough to get the proof. You want more, and this is the hardest part. Is it to find a basis of the image where you can compute the antecedent. And I mean, compute the inverse of, so usually we call it S, on a certain basis of the image. This is the most difficult part, and in the complex case, this can be done by Kato Lustig. in the complex case for C. For the trivial, the usual Satake homomorphism, V is equal to trivial representation, with some condition on G. G, supposing the de Graaff group, I don't remember, is simply connected. But here we can do this, well, we are working over a field of classic P. But here we can do this without any restriction in every G, any V. And we have formula, the explicit formula. So this is all what I will say about the proof. But they are the main points. And they are interesting.
This is out of the community.
No, not always. If the group is quasi-split, yes. But because Z is not necessarily commutative in general. If the group is split, yes. But Z is not necessarily split. Z is not necessarily commutative. If Z is commutative, this will be commutative. Even if Z is not commutative, it can be commutative. But there are examples where it is not commutative.
The speed.
Yeah.
You give some description.
Yeah.
From this description, it's not clear that it's commutative.
What?
From this description, it's not clear that it's commutative.
No. No, but it's not commutative. This is the image is not commutative. It's just... Yes, it is. Well, because Z is commutative. For split group, Z is commutative. So it is commutative for split group. Yeah. It is commutative. It is commutative. For split group, it is commutative. This is a character, because this is always irreducible. No question? No. So, how do we prove this inverse Satake homomorphism? How do we compute it? When you work over a field of classic P, there are only two tools, in some sense. You have the parabolic induction, that works extremely well in the question of classic, it doesn't matter. And the second tool is the Pro-P or Hihike algebra. So the way to prove it is using the theory of the Pro-P or Hihike algebra. I am coming back to other results of Bernstein that we generalized. So the proof of computation uses the Pro-P, Iwari, algebra. So we take I, which is a Pro-P silo subgroup of an Iwari subgroup of G. And you look at the Hike algebra. And you look at the Hike algebra, at G, and always the same thing. Well, I mean, I will put it over Z. Trivial representation over Z. So this is unique, it's an algebra, a ring that is unique modulo isomorphism because Iwari subgroup are conjugate in G. So the Pro-P silo also, so it's unique, it's attached to G, modulo isomorphism. So this is why I denote it like that. It's an algebra, the natural algebra that's attached to C. And it plays a very important role because when you consider the same thing but over R, you remplace here is by R, this is the algebra over R. You have the following result that if pi is smooth or representation or smooth, let us say, R representation of G of classic P, then pi I is different from 0. Because the characteristic for R is P and I is a Pro-P group. So, in some sense, if you want to study representation of the G, naturally you associate to them this right H GR module. And this functor, taking invariant by I, is faithful. You have this property, but it is not so good because this could be irreducible. It does not imply that is simple as a module. Oh yes, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, the commutant algebra of the induced representation. Commutant algebra. So this is, in the complex case, if it is irreducible, this will be irreducible, but not here. Still, we have something that is nice, that this is admissible, is the same thing that telling that pi I is finite dimensional. In characteristic P. So in some sense, it sees a lot, the invariant. You have to check only on one group, Pro-P group. So there is another well-known theorem of Bernstein, which describes when, so this is called the Pro-P worry. Avec R algebra. When you replace E by the E worry, Bernstein described the center of the E worry Hecke Z of 1 over P algebra, and proved that this algebra is a finitely generated module. Over its center. So this is one of the theorems not written by Joseph himself, but was written by Lustig. And it is important. So we have the same result for the Pro-P worry. But you can also take off Z. You don't need P to be invertible. So because it's true over Z, it is true over any R. And this implies something that is nice. It implies that a simple implies finite dimensional. This result here. In some sense, the theorem irreducible implies admissible is true for the Pro-P or Hecke algebra. Simple implies finite dimensional. So the classification of all simple module over R is known. And also we use this proprietary Hecke algebra to define what is supersingular. So I will tell you what is a supersingular module for the Hecke algebra. So immediately I give a definition. Pi is supersingular. C'est definition. If pi I is supersingular. And now I'll tell you what it means that the module is supersingular. And the theorem will be supersingular when it is irreducible. Well, pi irreducible admissible. And the theorem will be for pi irreducible admissible, pi supersingular equivalent that pi supercuspital. Okay, but I need to tell you what is. So the definition of supersingular, which is due to Barton and Livney, is using, Barton and Livney didn't use the proprietary, but it's equivalent. The definition I will give is equivalent to the definition of Barton and Livney when for GL2F, although it looks different. So, Bernstein describes the center. So here we also describe the center for the proprietary. And the supersingular is related to the action of the center. So the center of H of G contains or is a module which is finitely generated dans le subalgebra, the subalgebra. So it contains a big subalgebra, which is isomorphic to Z of T mod T1. What is T? T, so you have B is equal to ZU, and T is a maximal split torus. If G is split, Z is equal to T. And T1, which is T intersection with I, is a propé silo of the maximal compact subgroup of T. And here I forgot this, and these are the positive elements. So it's a finitely generated, the center is finitely generated on such a thing. So definition of supersingular. I consider right module because it appears naturally. I don't invert. HD module is supersingular if n est vrai, central element corresponding to a non-invertible element here, to non, because it's invertible, it will act invertibly to non-invertible element here. Invertible. Acts locally nilpotent. Nilpotent. This means that if you take an element in the module, if you take an element here, zt, then you want that there is ztn, v, for large. Okay? The action is locally nilpotent. For any element, it acts nilpotently. The power is 0. Okay. So the supersingular module, the supersingular simple module are classified by supersingular simple H are classified. Olivier. They are very trivial, they are extremely trivial. If the group G is simple, simply connected, there are only the characters of the Propy-Warry-Hake algebra that are different from the twists of the trivial representation of the sign. They are extremely simple. If you work for GLNF, their number is good. Rank number, it means that the number, if you fixing some invariant, is the same thing that for a Galois representation. So there are not too many supersingular modules. And numerically, you have the Langlands correspondence for GLNF. It's very different from the case GL2F for the group. For the Propy-Warry-Hake algebra, there is nothing special for supersingular. And AB classified. So. And AB classified simple module in terms of supersingular simple module. For Lévy subgroup, so this means that you have a full classification of a simple module for the Propy-Warry-Hake algebra. So this is something, this is analog for over a complex number. You have the classification of cache diagnostic. For Warry-Hake algebra. And where there was a restriction, I think the center was supposed to be connected. I think G split connected subset. So it is analogous. So for the complex case, it's much more difficult. Here, it's much easier. And the classification of Abbe is very similar to the classification that I gave. There are triple exactly like this, exactly the same. So he classified, so let us say in terms, you can write them H, P, Q, with P. Okay. There is a similar thing. And what? And U, simple. Super singular for. And this classification is related to the classification in the group in the following sense. We have also, because you have to relate the two things. In fact, we are working on the proprietary Hecke algebra because you are interacting in the group, so we should always go back and forth. If you prove something for the group, something analogous should be true for the Hecke algebra. You cannot prove it, deduce it from the result on the group. You have to prove it independently, and then you have to be together, and vice versa. So we prove with Olivier and me that if you look at the invariant vector of a general irreducible representation, it can be written like that, takes the invariant vector, what is it in terms of this classification of Abbe? It is exactly what you expect, what we wish. Our naive guess is true. We have this formula because this can be defined. You don't need the module here to be simple. You can define it as I did for the group. You can do it in general. And here, to have this, you have to suppose what I didn't tell you, but B and the proprietary should be compatible. To define all this using the Bruatitz building, it has to be compatible. So you have this. So it's a very nice picture and complete, totally complete without any restriction. There is, what time? I should stop when? How much time do I have?
In about 10 minutes.
10 minutes. So I have the last part. The last part. I am going back to the parabolic induction. Because, as I say, you have two things that are important, are the spherical Hecke algebra, associated to types. Types are the irreducible representation of the special parabolic. And the other thing is this parabolic induction that is extremely interesting in this case and had many nice properties. And I will speak of this parabolic induction. And another theorem of Bernstein, which is called the geometric lemma. You all know the geometric lemma. You also have a geometric lemma, but which is much simpler. So I look at the parabolic induction. I work in characteristic P, field of characteristic P always. Then the functor has a left adjoint. We all know this is Frobenius, the co-invariant vector by the radical unipotent. I will denote it like this, and the right adjoint. So I go for smooth representation to smooth representation. Mode. Smooth. Oh. This is element. Okay. So Bernstein showed us in the complex case that the right adjoint is almost a left adjoint. It is a twist of a left adjoint for the opposite parabolic subgroup. This is not true here. This is false. Why? Because you can compute this adjunct on our classification. You compute it and when you take the trivial representation, well, it's clearly the trivial representation. Even let us take SL2F, you will see that. That will be general. But if you do that, the trivial representation is 0. So it is not like the Bernstein description is not valid. That's the Bernstein-Kasselman, because Kasselman did it for admissible representation. Another thing, we can prove that this one, the right one, respects admissible representation. Admissibility. So it is equal to the Emerton ordinary functor, equal to the Emerton ordinary functor associated to the opposite parabolic. But we have counterexample where the left one does not respect admissibility. And this is a very important thing, is that when we work with complex representation, you don't see the F. F appears only by this residual field, or the number of elements of the residual field, not for mod P representation, because the field, when F is an extension of your QP, G is p-adic analytic group. When phi is F in extension of Fp of T, this is not true. And this makes difference. So Emerton proves that LGP respects admissibility in this case. But we have a counterexample in this case where LPG, even if it is SL2F. Not admissible. Here is a counterexample.
Is APG just Jacquet functor?
Yes, it's Jacquet functor, the co-invariant. Because parabolic induction is not normalized, so it's not normalized. Jacquet invariant is a Frobenius Jacquet invariant.
Then this induction is
much time I have? 5 minutes. So, a thing that I didn't really understand well now is that Hauser, Julien Hauser, proved recently that in this case, the second case where it is not a periodic analytic group, this functor, the right adjoint functor, respects is exact on admissible representation. This means that ORD, the functor, l'ordinary functor, is exact on admissible representation. And it's not true in this case. It's false in this case. Well, I hope you understand. So, characteristic P. So, which is so we have to know that when you work, really the characteristic of F plays a role for mod P representation. Not for complex, but for mod P representation. A question, an open question, how can you describe the right adjoint in general? You know it on admissible, but in general, what it is? Another question. It's an unknown. If we can go to the Propy-Warry case, the Hecke algebra. There is a functor if you look at the H of M, it is not contained in H of G. But you can define a map that corresponds to the parabolic induction. So I'll call it and of H of M to H of G, which has the property that if you take P of G of representation pi, take the vector invariant here, then it will be and H of M to H of G, the pi. So it's the theorem of Olivier-Mann. So there is an analog of this induction functor, compatible with the Propy-Warry. And this one has also a left adjoint and a right adjoint. But the left adjoint is exact. I don't know if this one is exact. I think it's not, but I don't know. I don't have a counterexample. Has left and a right adjoint. This one is exact, and this one corresponds to this one by taking invariance, but not the other one, and not the other one. And we don't know, before proving it or finding counterexample, we have no intuition of what will be true and what will be wrong. You just discover that. The very important thing to add, everything I told you here is valid, even if R is not of characteristic P, it's valid over Z. But what is, where we are really using characteristic P, is to add that the induction is fully faithful. which is not true in a complex case. Here it is the same thing. Also in the propi-Ivory-Hake words, the induction will also be fully faithful. And now this geometric lemma of Bernstein, what it is a mod P word is the following, using fully faithful. And I will end my talk with the geometric lemma. Well, there is nothing, in fact. So you take P and P1, a parabolic subgroup, which contain B, and you have the induction, and you want to compute P. And geometric lemma tells you how it looks like. But here it is you have only one term. You commute that, so you start to go down, and then you go up. So we have to think, so you go from M to M. And then you go from and you can also replace these by the right variant. It's also true. So there are no filtration. So finishing my talk, I hope that the preparation for this conference was done before, because I suppose that people knew what a lot of theory of complex representation and of the work of Bernstein. Yeah.
Be induced with a supersede
Yeah.
and the Steinberg.
Yeah.
What's special about the Steinberg? Can you do the same classification with say, the trivial in place of the Steinberg?
Well, there was also the Steinberg when Q was equal to G, if Q was equal to G. Yes, because I take any Steinberg, because I was moving the Steinberg. You see, what was important is that I was taking the tensor product with some extension of the representation, which was trivial on n. This is what mattered. But the choice of the Steinberg didn't matter, so the trivial representation is an example. You take Q is equal to P of sigma.